Get those passports ready and buy some tickets very soon. The Hurricanes are headed to Finland this November. We're going to talk all about that on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin, the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkeyes, also the co-host of the Searchcast, is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we're going to talk about how the Hurricanes have been tabbed to head over to Finland for 2 games against the Seattle Kraken. Also going to talk about the Hurricanes' most recent run against the Pittsburgh Penguins, as they've won 3 straight games against those guys to take a commanding lead of the Metro Division. And we'll hear from Rod Brind'Amour after the game on Sunday. Before we jump into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. During the tournament, FanDuel is offering $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Now, it came out early Monday morning. I know, sorry for delaying this episode, but a lot has happened for the Hurricanes, who kind of wanted to get some time to get some, this kind of worked out, or not really worked out, but in a way, bring this into today's episode. Thankfully, so it was announced that the Hurricanes will be taking on the Seattle Kraken in the 2026 Global Series that will be in Finland later this year on November 12th and the 14th. So you're talking Thursday and Saturday. Game will be at 12 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, November the 12th. And on Saturday, November 14th, the game will be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Of course, you'll be able to find this on NHL.TV, on DAZN, and however you're able to watch these games as well. It will be actually taking place at the Vikas Arena in Helsinki. Of course, this was formerly the Hartwell Arena. But it's really cool for the fact that the Hurricanes are able to do this, because you're talking about the 13th season of the fact that the NHL is heading over to Europe and, being able to do stuff like this to kind of grow the game and bring the NHL over to Europe. And it's just really cool the fact that the Hurricanes, for the first time in 16 years, have gotten the opportunity. The last time the Canes were overseas was during the 2010 premiere, where they took on the Minnesota Wild. Of course, that was the split on, playing October 7th and on October 8th, where both teams at least won a game. But it's crazy to think that it's been 16 years since the Hurricanes were in Europe at the time. And that's the fact that this is the second time ever that they're able to do that. So it's really cool for the fact that now the Hurricanes are able to do that. And the thing, it's even more special. Now you're talking about Sebastian Aho and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, being 2 of the 5 Finnish players as of now that will be taking, the ability to go and play in front of family and friends for the first time. And I think it's really awesome. And the thing is, tickets do go on sale Tuesday, March 31st, 4 a.m. Eastern. Of course, there's links to how to do that. Check out hurricanes.com. There's also the interest form to learn about fan tour packages. You're talking airfare, hotel, tickets, tours, and other excursions and all of that. But it's fun and cool, the fact that the Hurricanes are able to do this, because every year we always see, guys go over to Germany, Sweden, Finland as well, a lot of other areas. But the fact that it's been this long for the Hurricanes, and you're talking, a season where it's, Jussi Jokinen, Joni Pikkanen, Toma Ruutu, those guys were the ones that were able to play in Finland for the Hurricanes. And it's even more special is the fact that Sebastian Aho was actually at the time Hartwell Arena in Finland to see these guys play. And now you're talking a full circle moment of, talking about 700 games in the NHL, over 700 points, and now he's being able to take part in this. And, when asked about it, he says, Aho said, very excited, happy. I've been dreaming about it for 10 years, with him being in the league. when they announce the teams of these games, you usually don't see Carolina there, and you're always like, bummer, but this is worth the wait. And you're talking about, being able to play in front of family and friends for the first time on an AHL, level of play. So, with the fact that his family is in Roma, 160 miles, probably about 3 hours, being able to play in front of them is going to be so much fun. And it's going to be a great experience. And of course, they've already asked him, being the unofficial tour guy for the team. And he even said, I don't want to put it out there in the public just yet, but I have a couple of ideas to treat the fellas that definitely show some Finnish culture. It's no secret that the sauna is going to be part of it. If you don't know about the sauna, there's a long history of, did the guys get the invite to the sauna with Sebastian Aho? But it's just cool to the fact that, outside of his wedding, some of these guys probably have not been to Finland. So this is the first time these guys are going to be able to check out Finnish culture. And Aho even said, I think they're going to enjoy it. Hopefully we can put on a good show for them and win both games. That's the goal. Hockey is such a big part of Finnish culture, and people definitely enjoy watching it and cheering on Finns. It's such a big part of our whole country, and I know it's going to be a good atmosphere at the game. So that it shows how important hockey is in Finland, and with the fact that he's able to do that with, the Hurricanes, show the culture to some of the guys as well. And you're just looking at how important this is for Aho and just everything that's going on. And the fact that the guys were super happy for Sebastian to play in front of family. And that's kind of one of the big things that makes him really excited for it too, because he talked about, how everyone was happy for him. And, he even mentions Rod, talking about, he said Roddy wants us to stack memories. This is going to be one that's going to be up there. So I'm just glad that the Hurricanes are able to be a team that can experience something like this. And the fact that for the first time ever, you're going to see, Aho and Kokoniemi play in Finland in front of family and friends and an AHL environment for the first time ever. Because, and the fact, too, is Aho just won a bronze medal for Finland at the Olympics. So that's even a bigger testament, and just the excitement for the fact that he can be able to celebrate even that on top of everything else. And, spend a few days over there in Finland, with family and friends, and just being able to put on a show. And hopefully it works out for the Hurricanes to win both games. But it's really cool for the fact that you're adding, yes, we're going to 84 games next year on the schedule, but now you're talking about 2 games internationally in the middle of November, and it's going to be in Finland. I think it's definitely, it adds to the excitement of what next season is going to be for the Hurricanes. And you got, 2 Finns on the team right now as of, before we go into next season. And, it's crazy to think that the team used to have a bunch of Finns. Now you're down to 2, but, you're talking about one of them being Sebastian Aho, who's probably going to go down as one of the best Hurricanes players of all time. Like, he's going to be on a lot of Mount Rushmore talks. And even with just Barry Kokoniemi, just being able to do that as well in front of family and friends for him, that's going to be exciting, for him to be able to go and do that on a stage that, hasn't, really come to him or Aho or, just the Hurricanes in general, because unfortunately the Hurricanes are not a team that gets an opportunity a whole lot. Like, so this is the second time in franchise history they're going over to Europe in the 13th year of the NHL doing something like this. So after a very long wait, it's really cool to see that, the Hurricanes are able to pull, something off like this and now be on another stage and being able to show off their Finnish players and, get to enjoy a new environment. So definitely worth the wait for Sebastian Aho, seeing the first one for the Hurricanes when it was 13 back in 2010. Like I said, when you're talking about, Jokinen and, just Ruutu and Pick, it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for how those games are going to play out. And thankfully, you're going to talk about, noon and 1 p.m. Eastern start times. That's not bad, honestly, to get some, games like that for the Hurricanes. And, hopefully, get to see some really great action. Hopefully at that time, the Hurricanes pick up a couple wins, and, it's going to be fun to see them play against the Kraken, who have 3 Finnish players of their own, and, Hyman, Eli Tolvanen, and Kaapo Kakko. So those are going to be really some fun games to watch. And I know a lot of fans are probably going to find a way to go to those games. So like I said, March 31st at 4 a.m. tickets will go on sale. And of course, the Hurricanes will have a bunch of packages and stuff like that if you guys want to do the fan excursions as well. All right, so we talked about that, but the Hurricanes did play on Sunday. We're not going to talk about the game as a whole. We're just going to talk about the general, what the Hurricanes have done against the Pittsburgh Penguins over the last 3 meetings, especially the fact that it's been over the last couple weeks. So stick around. We'll talk about that in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cutdown. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. You get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. You can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, or even same-game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action. Spring is a natural reset point. And if there's one thing that can quietly cost business money, it's messy communication. Missed calls, scattered texts, no clear thread of who said what. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number so you never miss a call, text, or an opportunity. Everything lives in one clean thread, calls, texts, and voicemails, and the AI summarizes save serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It just makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this the season, no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonAHL. That's QUO.com/lockedonAHL. Quo. No missed calls and no miss customers. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with me and other listeners of the show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to the description as well to sign up today for the Everydayer Club. Now, welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, so we talked about the Carolina Hurricanes being able to go over to Finland later this year in November on the 12th and the 14th to play the Seattle Kraken. But now let's kind of rewind back a little bit in the fact that the Hurricanes just beat the Pittsburgh Penguins on Sunday 5-1. Absolutely just ran the show against those guys. 3 for 5 on the power play. I mean, the first 3 power plays they had were all goals. Like, it was 3 shots, 3 goals, 3 power play successes. You'd love to see that for the Hurricanes. And overall, just a dominating performance. Sebastian Aho scoring, Nikolai Ehlers, Jalen Chatfield said everyone to chat man do. Seth Jarvis gets a power play goal. Mark Jankowski gets an empty netter. And the fact that you're talking multi-point games for a lot of these guys. Nikolai Ehlers a goal and assist. Seth Jarvis a goal and assist as well. And you just look at the team overall on Sunday, you could tell that they were really ready to play the Penguins. And, that's just something that you really love to see for what the Hurricanes have done. Because now recently you're looking at a 3-game winning streak for these guys. They're playing some really fantastic hockey right now. That's all you can really ask for out of the Hurricanes, because this is kind of what you need. And when you look at their last 3 games over the Penguins, and I love how the admin basically used the Penguins from Madagascar as like analysis. And it's the box scores of March 10th, 5-4 in a shootout. Final and overtime on March 18th, 8 days later, 6-5. And then 4 days later, back in Pittsburgh again, Hurricanes trounced them 5-1 to kind of give them a taste of their own medicine of when Pittsburgh beat the Hurricanes back on December 30th, 5-1. So essentially, when you're talking about a 4-game regular season series, the Hurricanes gentlemen sweeped, in a sense, the Penguins. Like, they won the last 3 games, and they've really put themselves into a really great position when you're talking about the Metro Division as a whole, because as of right now, when you look at, the schedule tonight on Monday, it's 1 game. It's the Rangers and the Senators. It's like, okay, it's not that really big of a deal. So in that case, when you look at the standings of where the Hurricanes sit right this minute, you're talking about a team who's got 96 points, 70 games played, the same amount as the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're now 10 points ahead with 12 games remaining. and they're 1 point ahead of the Buffalo Sabres, who've played 71 games. So the Hurricanes have a game in hand on Buffalo, and now they're 5 points up on Tampa, even though Tampa's played one last game. But the Hurricanes are really putting themselves into a good spot for the number 1 seed in the East. And like I said, you look at the Metro, the Hurricanes winning 2 games in the span of 4 days, or 3 in a row in a span of 12 to 13 in 2 weeks. The Hurricanes have managed to beat Pittsburgh twice, really 3 times, to gain 6 more points on them. And now you look at the fact that they've won their last couple games in against them. You're now 10 points clear with the same amount of games. And now you got Pittsburgh in a fight with Columbus for the number 2 spot, because the Jackets are 1 point back of them. And the Islanders are tied with Columbus in points, but the Jackets have a better points percentage because the Islanders have played 71 games. And then after that, it's Philadelphia 5 back with 80, and then Washington and New Jersey. So in reality, you're talking about, a few teams looking on the outside. Detroit's a lot closer to the Rangers and Bruins. Senators might have a chance because they're only 4 points back with 13 games left, but they're in a tough spot. And same thing for the Flyers and the Capitals a little bit farther back too. So that's really shaking things up in the Metro, because you're talking between second and, you're talking about the number 2 seed in the Penguins, the number 3 in the Jackets, and the Islanders are the second wild card team. And then you got the Detroit Red Wings right there too, but then Philadelphia is farther back. So what the Hurricanes have done to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3 times in a row over the last couple of weeks, it just puts more of a stranglehold on the division, because now Pittsburgh, on the bad side of a tiebreaker against the Hurricanes, have to try to manage to get 10 points on Carolina with 12 games left. I mean, you need 5 wins to get the 10 points, but now you got to hope the Hurricanes start losing. That's pretty tough when the Hurricanes are 7-3-0 in their last 10 on a 3-game winning streak, just beating Pittsburgh 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And now the Penguins are 4-3-3 in their last 10, with the Jackets breathing down their necks, who are 6-1-3 in their last 10. Islanders are 5-5 in their last 10. So this is going to make the 2, 3, and then the rest of the division more interesting now, because now you're just fighting for, seeding as the 2, 3 seed. And if you're going to make a wild card out of the Metro, because right now the Hurricanes, like I said, have a stranglehold on the division. 25-9-2 at home, 20-10-4 on the road. At this point, it's the Hurricanes' division to lose, and I don't see the Hurricanes doing that. Last year, they finished with 99 points. As of right now, they have 96 with 12 games left. They're easily going to clear 100 by a wide margin. Now it's just, at this point for the Hurricanes, your main focus is going for the number 1 seed in the East. You essentially have Buffalo breathing down your necks now of, going for the conference. Luckily, you've played 1 fewer game, so you have the game in hand on Buffalo. You're 5 points up on Tampa, and you're 10 points up on Montreal and Boston and Pittsburgh. So really, as of right now, it's a 3-team race for the number 1 seed in the East. And right now, the way Tampa Bay's been playing 5-4-1 in their last 10. Yeah, their goal differential is plus 59, but they're in a not that great stretch of hockey, where Buffalo's 8-1-1. And like I said, the Hurricanes are 7-3 in their last 10. And those 2 teams just keep finding ways to win games, and they're both at a goal differential of plus 44. So the fact that the Hurricanes took care of business against Pittsburgh, really distanced themselves within a division, and now it's like, okay, well, we're not saying it's locked up, but the probability is a lot better for the Hurricanes to win the Metro Division. And now it's, all right, focus in, let's go get the number 1 seed in the East. Because for me, yeah, you want to have guys rest and all that. I get that, but you want to give yourself the best possible avenue for a playoff run. I think getting the number 1 seed in the East will be that great benchmark for you, because then you get whoever the second wild card team is, which right now is the Islanders. It'd be great to play someone different, but past that, you got home ice advantage to the entire eastern side of the bracket, and then depending on how the overall standings fall in terms of the NHL, where you pass that, it all really depends, because Colorado's already clinched a playoff spot with 102 points in 69 games. Dallas clinched at 97, so the Hurricanes are essentially right there to clinch a spot at this point. Like, that's how close they are to clinching a spot in the playoffs. It's like I said, and now, you're 1 point back at Dallas for the number 2 seed overall in the league, and you're 6 points back at Colorado, even though Colorado's got games in hand. I think it's going to be tough to possibly catch them. But there's a chance, though, because the Avs are 6-3-1 in their last 10, even though they've won 2 games in a row, and Dallas is 6-2-2. So there is still a chance for the President's Trophy if the Hurricanes want to go for it. But if not, if you go for at least the number 2 seed in the entire league, then the only team that would be ahead of you for a Stanley Cup final home ice advantage is the Avalanche. Past that, the Hurricanes would basically have home ice against everyone else in the playoffs. So as of right now, I feel pretty good for the division title for the Hurricanes at clinching a spot. Obviously they're going to clinch a spot in the playoffs, but right now it's the number 1 seed in the East. That's your main focus now for the Carolina Hurricanes. But it's great to see the fact they took care of the Penguins and did in the way they did, to where, the last 2 games were close, but this last one on Sunday, talk about pure domination, 5-1, and absolutely just, put yourself in a good spot where you're 10 points up on Pittsburgh in the division with 12 games to go. So that should be a really fun stretch to see how this plays out over the next couple weeks. And before you know it, we're on to the playoffs. Now, after the game on Sunday, Rod Brind'Amour did meet with me. So how did he feel after the game? We'll stick around. We'll listen and react to it in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates to check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. We need the right person to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit. They'll get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hire? This is a job for Indeed-sponsored jobs. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, so we talked about the Hurricanes going to Finland later this year in November for the Global Series. Talk about how the Hurricanes ran the table on the Penguins over the last 3 games and how that sets them up perfectly for the division in the Eastern Conference and more so the league overall. But after the game on Sunday, how did Rod Brind'Amour feel about the Hurricanes win? Well, we're going to listen, watch, and react to it right now.
About the importance of a strong start in each of them, obviously, to get on the board so early. How do you feel like that helped establish a tone?
Well, it certainly does, just what you said, and then it allows you to not have to do anything different and not, when you get behind, just a natural tendency sometimes is to try to do a little too much. So I think just getting ahead and then obviously keep adding was huge.
For the power play to convert 3 separate times, what did you see as a common theme?
Well, winning that. It's nothing that we hadn't been doing. We got some shots that found their way to the back of the net. That happens. I think we've been due for that because as a power play group, we've been kind of getting one a night here or there, but all of a sudden, you're going to have those nights, and we hadn't had them really all year. So it's nice to see.
Only allowing 19 shots on net, just in terms of the other biggest things that you notice as a focal point.
Well, that's the key. I think basically to the end, they had 12, and then at the end, the last little bit, we kind of, they pulled the goalie and all that. But I thought, in general, that's the good number, right? Because you're not going to score 3, 4, 5 a night. You got to try to limit the other team. I thought we did a pretty good job.
What did you see from Nikolai Ehlers' all-around game today?
He was sharp, right from the get-go. He had a lot of jump. You can see that when he has that extra little pep to his step there, he's making plays, and he was obviously impactful.
Kind of the same question, but on Seth Jarvis, just what did you see with his goal and 2 assists?
Well, I thought he obviously is one of our top guys, and plays a lot of roles for us, and scoring is part of it. We need him on the score sheet. When he can be adding that element every night, that just helps our group, because he does so much of the other stuff that maybe doesn't show up on the score sheet. But like I said, when he's on the score sheet, we generally do all right.
And he wasn't maybe overly tested, but I think 5 straight wins for Freddie. Just what have you seen from him lately?
Well, tonight I thought he did just a nice job handling the puck on the forechecks. He did a real good job there, and that really helps out so much when you relieve the stress. And then when he had to make a few saves, he did, and that's what you ask for your goalie.
Big thank you to the Carolina Hurricanes and Rod Brind'Amour as always. And you hear from him, talk about some great nights from Seth Jarvis and Nikolai Ehlers. And, we just talk about Seth. It's, he's one of their best players. You really need to go on the he does a lot of great stuff off the score sheet, but when he's able to contribute like that on the score sheet, it's very big for the Hurricanes. Ehlers, he said right from the jump, he was, ready to go and show that and played really well. And then, talk about the power play, you give one goal here on some nights. And, for him, it's like you don't really see that a lot where the Hurricanes can score 2-3 power play goals a night. So that was a nice little boost for them. And then talk about Freddie Andersen. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's won 5 straight games for the Hurricanes, and it's crazy when you look at the overall save percentages. .813 against Edmonton, .857 against Pittsburgh back on the 10th, .895 against Tampa, .857 against Pittsburgh on the 18th, and then again against Pittsburgh, .947 on the 22nd. The Hurricanes have won their last 3 games against Pittsburgh, and Freddie was in net all 3 games and was able to come out and beat them all 3 times. But like I said, a 5-game winning streak. In this last one with a .947 because he had 18 saves on 19 shots. At one point, Freddie Andersen was on a very bad side of a record where he didn't win a game for almost 2 months, and now he's won 5 straight. Now he's sitting 13, 11, and 5 with a 3.12 goals against and an .874 save percentage. Yeah, the goals against average is still really high, like the worst of his career so far, and his save percentage is .874. Which is also the worst of his career. But talk about a turnaround for Freddie for the fact that he took 2 months of not really winning a game to now winning 5 straight and picking up the wins for the Hurricanes. Like I said, 5 in a row. You're talking about a guy who is 8-11 and 5 at one point and is now just completely flipped the script, and now he's playing some great hockey. That's what you need from Freddie right now. Especially the fact that you're kind of giving Bussy a little bit of a, hey, you don't have to be dialed in every single night to save us. Now you got Freddie playing well, and you got a tandem that looks pretty good. And I know people will still want to complain how the goaltending isn't the greatest for the Hurricanes, but you don't fluke your way into the record that the team has right now. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, the guys are scoring a lot of goals, but goaltending has really helped the Hurricanes out this year as well. I mean, you're talking about a plus 44 goal differential, and you're 45, 19, and 6. You don't just fluke your way into 45 wins on a season with mediocre goaltending. Like, the goaltending has saved the Hurricanes a lot this season, and you're talking about a team who's the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference and 3rd in the entire league. And the fact that you're getting Freddie Andersen playing some great hockey right now, that's very big for the Hurricanes, and the fact that Rod recognizes that, yeah, the guys are playing great right now, and they're setting themselves up to go in the division, make their 8 straight playoff appearance, and hopefully make another deep run again. And the fact that you're within striking distance of going for the number 1, you're in the number 1 seed in the East, so you're in striking distance of the Presidents. Go keep taking care of business and do what you need to do, because nothing's locked up, nothing's done. Because you're still talking 12 more games of the regular season. Like you have to be clicking on, firing on all cylinders and clicking perfectly as a team, or at least somewhat close to perfect, because you're going to need to be ready for the playoffs. Like, you don't need to, take the foot off the gas. You got to keep playing Hurricanes hockey, and that's what they're doing. And that's why you like to see the fact they've won 3 games in a row, and they're taking care of business against the Pittsburgh Penguins in their last 3 meetings. Total team effort from start to finish, and the fact that the Hurricanes were able to put on a power play goal clinic and got the win. That's what you need to do. So now it's on to the next. We're going to play Montreal on Tuesday and hopefully pick up their 4th win. We'll see how it goes from there. But great night overall for the guys, and the fact that you guys just hear from Rod and get his thoughts on all that. So hopefully, the good times keep rolling for the Canes. But guys, This will be the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen of the day. If you've never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Hurricanes ad-free, plus a members-only Discord access, and more. Head to the link in the show notes or the description to join the club today. It's $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. For those of you on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure to make your second listen NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. If you want to keep up with me, I'm a one shirt Zach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where if you click the link in my bio, you can find all my written content at thehockeywriters.com. Have been putting out a lot of stuff recently. Just did one on the Hurricanes of how they found a good balance of their age of their roster and their contracts to keep their contending window staying open very long. So make sure to go check that out. You also can check out the podcast at LO_Hurricanes on Twitter as well, or X. And, you know, if you want to check out my other podcasts, it's Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. And for Locked On Hurricanes, we're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you list your podcast. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. And if you're on YouTube, you know, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Sorry for the long delay, guys. It was a crazy day on Monday, but hopefully everyone enjoyed it. Have a good rest of your Monday. Until next time, as always, let's go Canes.